so we all can recall a moment where we did something with the intention of making us feel better, but in turn, we actually caused ourselves feeling much more shit compared to before we did that thing. And these type of things that we do, that we think they will make us feel happy and more content with our lives, and they turn out to be making us feeling much worse, these are your bad habits. Like you indulging in some fast food after a heavy day of work. Like you getting into the corn hub and watching stuff that you shouldn't watch and giving yourself that empty dopamine. This is a bad habit as well. And this type of things all ruin our lives without us even noticing it. And in this video, I want to talk about a couple of tips in which might be helpful for you to actually get rid of these hobbies and these habits, let's say. Because what I notice is that people tend to follow the wrong path when it comes to trying to get away from these hobbies or get away from these habits. Because this stuff, even though it might seem like not a big deal, are actually a big deal, and getting away from them is actually the same. This stuff is very harmful, and getting away from them is equally hard. So if you don't follow the right path, you will find yourself spiraling back into these habits and feeling even more worthless and more hopeless. And in turn, you will start to question yourself, like, is it ever going to be possible for me to get away from these hobbies? And this is also a dark path to go on. And I don't want you to go on to these paths. I want you to have a healthier way of actually eliminating these habits from your life. And in this video, I will talk about 3 tips which will probably help you to get rid of these habits in a healthier way, in a more useful and more doable way. Not to torture yourself, to make the process more smoother, let's say. And the first thing that I want to say is to identify the patterns and solve the problem from its roots. Because these bad habits do not really come out of nowhere, let's say. They all have a root, they all have a pattern. Because most of us do not feel the need to masturbate and watch some videos, adult videos that we shouldn't watch. It usually comes out of a place of frustration. Whenever you hop onto those hubs and stuff, this is the same for everyone, this is the same for me as well. If you watch those videos, you probably had a bad day before that. You probably had some problems with your job. You probably didn't manage to get something done that you needed to do. So you were feeling bad already. And you kind of use these things like watching porn or other stuff as a way of escape. This is the same for the fast food as well. Most probably you're having some problems with your life. Things are not going your way recently. And you in turn try to escape from this feeling by actually making yourself feel worse by indulging in these bad activities. So these bad habits do not really come to your mind on their own. There are some patterns that you need to identify and solve those patterns first. And I guarantee you, if you're able to solve those patterns, you will be free from 70% of your addictions. That's how certain I talk. Because I have experienced a similar situation. When I was indulging in all these bad activities like masturbation, like eating a ton of junk food, or smoking, let's say, I was always coming from a place of losing my peace of mind. I always had a lot of problems with me, and in those days, I didn't really know how to deal with them. So I needed a way of escape. And that's why I was indulging in these habits too much, because I needed an escape. I didn't solve the patterns that were causing these habits in the first place. So what you need to do is to sit down with yourself and just question yourself. What makes you more willing to indulge in these activities? Like, think of the last day that you did all of these activities that we have talked about. Think about that day. What did you go through? What did other people say to you? What have you experienced with your job? What have you experienced in your relationship? What have you experienced with your friends or family? Think about these things, and you will most likely find some patterns that actually led you to indulge in these activities. Because like I said, they do not come on their own. So we need to figure out the patterns and then solve these first. So what this could be. This might be something that you're unhappy with your job and you need some things to be sorted out in your job. I can't give you an example of what it can be, but Maybe there is a task that you're postponing, and that is in turn making you feel bad. And in order to escape this feeling of bad, like this bad mood, you indulge in some activities that you shouldn't. So if you actually try to start the task, you will feel much more happy, much more competent with yourself, much more okay with yourself, rather than just hopping on an instant gratification activity and making yourself feel worse afterwards. So we need to identify patterns. Keep this in mind. This is the most important step to actually get away from these habits. And the second thing, this is also a very common mistake when it comes to people trying to get away from these bad habits, is that we need to find alternatives or reduce the intensity. Not to try to cut out the hobby at the first time when we are starting to fight with this, because we are not really at the strength level, we are not really at the mental strength level that is needed to actually stop this hobby completely. So we either need to find an alternative or reduce the intensity of this habit that we are actually doing. So let's give an example for masturbation. If you are every day masturbating more than 2 times a day, then you can't expect yourself to just cut out everything at one time like a monk. You don't have the strength level yet, because if you had, you would not be in this shit position in the first place. You're not strong, you're not there yet. So if you try to cut out everything completely, you'll fail. 100% guaranteed, like 100% guaranteed you will fail. You will not be able to regress in this hobby. You will continue to do this habit again and again. So you need to either find an alternative to that or just reduce the intensity. So if you're doing basically like 2 times or 3 times this masturbation shit, you can maybe reduce it to only 1 time a day and you keep it on for a week like that. And then after that, you reduce it to 6 times per week. So not once in every 6 days, like 1 time every day again, but for 6 days, and not doing it on the last day of the week, for example. And then you can reduce it gradually, like maybe then you can reduce it to 4 times a week, and then maybe 3 times a week, and then maybe 1 time a week. And this is really possible if you just treat yourself like you're not strong enough yet. If you accept this fact and treat yourself as like that, you'll be able to reduce it gradually. But this will take time. You cannot just, like I said, completely stop doing a habit, or you cannot just reduce what you're doing like for 70%. So while you're reducing, you should not also be too aggressive on yourself. You should reduce it slowly, and in that way you will be successful. Or you can find an alternative. For example, instead of playing video games like 3 hours a day, maybe you can replace that time with something fun again, but this time something less harmful. What it could be, like maybe going out with your friends. Instead of just sitting on your table and playing 3 hours a day a video game, maybe you can increase the time that you spend with your friends. You can go out more, you can drink more coffees. Of course you will spend money, of course you will spend time, but at least you're spending on something healthy, and something that is actually good for your brain and for your mental health. So if you just try to cut out a habit completely without an alternative, or if you just try to stop it once at a single time, you will definitely fail. So don't fall into this mistake. And this is what actually puts off most people from fighting these habits. Getting away and setting yourself free from these habits is very possible, but you need to follow the correct path. This is the most critical point. And the third and the last thing that I want to mention, which is also very helpful, is to fill your life out more with some valuable stuff. Do more things so you will have no chance of getting into these habits as much as you could before, because you will not have enough time. You will not have enough mental space to actually do these things that you were doing before, because your mental battery, let's say, your capacity is very limited. And if you have more things in your life going on, you will spend this energy to those things, and in turn you will not have enough to spend on some bullshit, and in turn these bad habits will regress on their own, because they have no other choice. If you have tons of shit going on with your life, with your job, with your business, with your work, with your family, with your relationship, whatever it is, just try to fill your life out more with good stuff, the stuff that could be valuable for you. And this will just directly reduce the amount of bad habits that you're doing. And yeah, these three things, identifying the roots and solving the problem from there, finding alternatives or reducing intensity, and filling your life out with more stuff that will be useful for you, is your way out of these habits. If you follow the path that I told you, if you do these three things at the same time, you will be set free in a very short time, and you will not believe yourself that you did this. But it's very possible if you follow the right path. That's it. If you don't, then good luck for you, because you'll be spiraling onto these old bad habits for the rest of your life. And your life will suck. So take care, and I hope to catch you on the next one.